Hello and welcome to Cycles of Time, your weekly guide to what's happening on Earth as we make our revolutionary journey around the sun. For time immemorial, our human ancestors have created myths and meanings to help us adapt and thrive as seasons change. Join me each week to explore the intersections of these ancient cycles, from the indigenous medicine wheel to the pagan wheel of the year, the Babylonian and Greek zodiac to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese book of changes. I'm your host, Allison Dale, and this is the Cycles of Time podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to your Cycles of Time weekly forecast for the week of November 18th to 25th, 2024. I'm recording this on Monday morning of November 18th, super late, because yesterday on Sunday I had a raucous birthday party for my now 6-year-old, that little super spider Scorpio rebel that I talked a little bit about in last week's episode that was titled "To All the Rebels, Freaks, and Geniuses, This Full Moon is for You." So we had, about 10 kids over, 10, 20 adults, and just a lot of balloons and running around and screeching and screaming and past the parcel. And it was awesome, but I'm beat. And so here is your episode a little bit late. I'm so curious how that full moon last week landed for you all out there. That full moon in Taurus that was activating the Genius to Freak Human Design channel and was conjunct Uranus and just was all about, epiphanies coming through. So let me know in the comments how that full moon was for you. For me, I was very affected by it, by that Genius to Freak channel that was popping off throughout the week. And I was finding a lot of downloads and insights and ideas and theories and epiphanies and connections coming through my mind. And I just felt like it was just like one thing after another. And it made me feel kind of high all week. Not high like on weed or anything, but a very different kind of clear, focused, clear, cognizant kind of high. Not like any kind of drug I've ever been on, but definitely like levitating frequency. And a lot of the week last week, I felt really just wired and buzzy, kind of to the point of exhaustion. And I was very grateful that I had some breathwork practices up my sleeve and a journal to keep notes in as I just kept having all of these ideas and thoughts that connected with each other. It was just like being in a storm of electricity. So yeah, how did it show up for you? One thing I noticed that when I was going through that kind of high frequency energy, I feel like a lot of us out in the world today are just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Is just the vibe all around. Like there's something that we don't know, some missing information, something that just has to happen. We can't just put one foot in front of another and expect everything to be okay anymore. So it's like that energy of anticipation that feels really all around us. And for me, one thing I noticed that helped over the past week when I was feeling that way and made me feel really grounded was connecting with friends. Even when I didn't really feel like talking to anyone, after I just had a real conversation with somebody that I cared about and that cared about me, the world felt substantially less on fire. So yay for friends. Hi to all of you out there that I got to talk to over the past week. And thank you for being a sounding board and a listening place and for letting me hear your thoughts and so we could fan each other's flame a little bit. That was really helpful. This week, starting a couple days ago on Saturday the 16th, the week before I'm recording this, we've entered a new type of energy, which is the culmination of Scorpio season. And that is happening in the human design gate of power skills. So we're moving from the rebel, the gate of the rebel, the gate of insight, to the gate of power skills. And I was lucky enough to catch my powerful, skillful, and dear friend Zee Clarke for a conversation yesterday amidst her busy travel schedule. Her birthday is Monday, November 18th, the day that this episode comes out. So she and I got to chat about her amazing life journey, her work that is bringing mindfulness practices to people of color in the workplace, her book that came out last year called Black People Breathe, and her experience being a Scorpio who's born in the gate of Power Skills, gate 14. Zee truly embodies the competence, confidence, and natural abundance described by this last gate of Scorpio. So please listen on to hear her insights and stories as it relates to the energy that is ripe this week in the Wheel of the Year. The sun is transiting through Zee's birthday gate 14 until this Thursday when it bounds into Sagittarius season with the gate of power, gate 34. So we're going from the gate of power skills early in this week, Monday through Wednesday, into the gate of power. So not, they're pretty similar, a little bit of nuanced differences, but we're in a powerful week about, owning our own personal empowerment. The Gate of Power continues on the theme of following your inner light and embodying decisive action and encouraging a strong assertion of your individual strengths and capabilities. It champions the mantra of saying no to others when it compromises your own process and yes to yourself. So Gate 34 later in the week, we'll talk a lot about Gate 14 and this last gate of Scorpio season with the interview with Zee in just a minute here. But instead of going on and on after the interview, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Gate 34, the Gate of Power, right now, as it's going to be welcoming us into Sagittarius season starting on Thursday. And we'll go from there. So Gate 34 teaches us that when we focus on growing and empowering ourselves, we naturally contribute to the most good for everyone around us. It shows us that real power comes from being true to who we are and to what we want to achieve. In the I Ching, hexagram 14, Power Skills, is known as Great Possessing, and hexagram 34, Power, is known as Great Vigor. So we have Great Possessing into Great Vigor this week. As we gather the deeply abundant personal resources that we've gained through Scorpio season's transformative process, we can enter Sagittarius season on Thursday with the aligned confidence and focus of the Centaur Archer. So Scorpio, go into the depths, coming back up, being reborn as a phoenix, and we're reaching the end of that whole transformative process right now. It has certainly felt like a very transformative Scorpio season to me. I've learned so much about this sign over the past few weeks, so thanks for being along for the ride. And I'm really excited about what Sagittarian power has to bring. Sagittarius is, the Centaur Archer, and is a sign that is all about aiming your arrow to the horizon of your choice and shooting and then chasing, using your strong horse legs to chase the arrow off into the sunset and have great adventures and learn a lot along the way and use your focus and determination to get what you want and to be in alignment with yourself. And so I'm really excited about Sagittarius season ahead. I do have a couple of articles coming out for that. First, the Astrum Opus article that I put out every month for the sun ingress into the new sign is going to come out this week as well. So stay tuned for that in your inboxes if you're a subscriber at astrosomatics.substack.com. And that'll dig into Sagittarius and how the correlations of the body parts of Sagittarius, the legs and the liver and the sacrum, relate to the season, as well as how the stage in the life cycle associated with Sagittarius relates to the season, which is our kind of wanderlust years of our late 50s and early 60s, when oftentimes we are a little bit out of the career and family frenzy and have a little bit more space and time to go seek new horizons. So stay tuned for that article from Astrum Opus. And then I'm also doing a lunar rites for Sagittarius season. I've started a collaboration with the story doula, who I had on the podcast earlier in the summer for her Gemini season interview. But Daje Alo has put together a really beautiful free online community called The Inner Circle, and that's also going to be on Substack. And every month I'm going to be writing a article about the lunar rites and the human design gates of each of the lunar cycles to kind of align ourselves with the moon and the gates that are being activated by the moon and see how that can help us in our creative process. So if you'd like to join that, you can join the Inner Circle. I'll put links in the show notes, but it's, again, a free community forum where people can kind of just tap into this larger collective astrology and human design movement, as well as a lot of amazing insights from Daje and her team. So check that out. And before all of the Sagittarian energy happens, there is one more major thing happening this week. And if you're into astrology at all, I probably don't have to say it, but it is the ingress of Pluto into Aquarius from Capricorn. So Pluto is leaving Capricorn on Tuesday, the 19th, and entering Aquarius, where he will stay until 2044. So that's 20 years in Aquarius after 16 years in Capricorn. So if you look back over the past 16 years, you can think a little bit about how Pluto has shaped and transformed your life in the part of the chart that contains Capricorn. And as it moves into Aquarius, you can look into the part of your astrology birth chart that contains Aquarius to see how it might transform your life. Nothing to be scared of. Pluto is always somewhere in the chart. And just this change of signs is kind of a big deal in the astrology community. So I will say, I won't go into that transit in detail today because I want to jump into this interview with Zee Clarke, but I might put out a little bonus Astro HD write-up of Pluto and Aquarius episode this week or next if I find the time, as I found some really interesting, juicy stuff buried beneath the surface with that. But all I will say right now is that the horizons that Sagittarius Archer is pointing his arrow toward will look a lot different now compared to the last 16 years. And with changing horizons, it's more important than ever to feel empowered and secure in the wisdom of your own body and spirit. We ride at dawn. So just a quick recap of this week's highlights before we jump into the conversation with Zee. We have Pluto entering Aquarius for the next 20 years on Tuesday, November 19th. Then on Thursday, November 21st, Sagittarius season begins with the sun ingressing into Sagittarius. And in the Human Design and I Ching Wheel of the Year, from Monday through Wednesday, the sun is in Gate 14, the Gate of Power Skills. And from Thursday to Sunday, or into next week, actually into next Tuesday, the sun is going to be in Gate 34, the Gate of Power. This week's themes are power skills, competence, not compromise, and finding abundance through embodiment. In the larger Human Design Wheel of the Year, which you can always find a diagram for this wheel on astrosomatics.substack.com. Every week shows and kind of highlights which part of the wheel the sun is traveling through. You can also find it on Cycles of Time podcast on Instagram or astro.somatics on Instagram. They're pinned to the top there, so you can see this in a visual way. But in the medicine wheel, we've entered the direction north, which is the direction of elderhood and winter and wind. In the Taoist 5-element Wuxing cycle, we're currently in the end of the season of metal before we enter the season of water. In the pagan season, we're between Samhain, Halloween, and Yule, Christmas. We're kind of right in the middle there. The zodiac season is Scorpio, and the moon phase is waning from that full moon last week. Again, Human Design and I Ching Wheel of the Year, we're in Gate 14 from Monday through Wednesday. And this is known as Fire Over Heaven or Great Possessing in the I Ching, or the Gate of Power Skills in Human Design. And then from Thursday onward, we move into Gate 34, which is Heaven Over Wind, or the Gate of Power. So without further ado, here's the interview with Zee Clarke, a Scorpio powerhouse who really embodies the Gate of Power Skills. Thanks so much for being here. I am so excited to welcome to Cycles of Time today my dear friend Zee Clarke. Zee and I have known each other for many, many years. We met in the Bay Area probably, I don't know, over a decade ago, and we were both working in tech at the time. And then we reconnected a few years ago, both living in the high desert of New Mexico. So I'm just so excited to chat with Zee here today on the podcast. A little bit about Zee. She is a Harvard MBA that went from leading teams at Fortune 500 companies and startups in Silicon Valley to teaching mindfulness and breathwork. That's another connection that we've had, is entering the breathwork realm. And Zee uses a framework, or teaches a framework called Breathwork at Work, where she teaches these powerful tools to improve mental health and well-being in the workplace. And she's the author of a book called Black People Breathe. And with that book, along with her Black at Work program, she helps people of color thrive despite the chronic stress caused by microaggressions and systemic racism. Zee was trained in India and leverages her toolkit of breathwork, meditation, yoga, sound healing, and Reiki to ensure that all people, especially people of color, have the stress management and resilience tools to thrive despite any challenges that might arise at work and in life. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, Zee. I am just so happy to see your face. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, so happy to be here.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you now?
I'm in Oakland, California right now.
Awesome. How's Oakland feeling right now?
My favorite part of being back, it's been a week, has been riding a bicycle around town.
Mm.
There is something really wonderful about the bicycle as a form of transportation.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. And there's so many amazing bike lanes now. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an upgrade. Yeah. I think when I lived in Oakland before, there weren't that many bike lanes, so that's fabulous. A little change from the Taos Mesa.
Yes, much more action here than in
Slow progress.
Taos.
Yeah,
Different vibrations.
definitely. Both very powerful, but in different ways for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, your birthday is on Monday, and so I was so excited that you kind of last minute joined me on this show, since I've been having people to talk about their birthdays and their birthday season. So just wanted to give you a big shout out and happy birthday. Do you have
Thank
any,
you. Yay.
yeah, yay, happy birthday. Do you have any big plans for your birthday this year?
I am doing things that bring me joy. That is my intention, not just for my birthday, but throughout the whole year. So I am going to see Erica Badu tonight.
Nice.
Very excited about that show. I'm going to go to a daytime dance party because more and more I'm learning and really understanding that dance is such a powerful form of therapy and healing. And then I'm going to a Korean spa where I am going to just get a really long massage, do the saunas and the hot tubs, and really treat myself to self-care.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like the absolute best birthday weekend that I could imagine. You're doing it right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I
Yes.
met you on a dance floor, however, 12 years ago or so, and you are an amazing dancer. I miss dancing with you so much. So glad you're doing
Ah,
it.
me too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, dancing is so good for the soul.
it is. And I love,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I love that you bring up all this play and pleasure and bringing that to yourself over the year. I think you also know Morgan Scheidler. I just had her on the podcast a week ago for
Yes.
Scorpio birthday. But she's talking all about play as a form of
Yes.
resistance.
Hustle and play is her thing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that you're bringing in all the play for yourself, and yeah, Korean spa. Yes, that sounds amazing. So
Hmm.
I could be there with you. That's awesome.
I
Um,
know.
cool. Well, say hi to everybody in Oakland that I know.
I will.
Yeah. So for this conversation, I'd love to start with just a little getting to know you for our audience and then move into kind of chatting about your relationship with your birthday season, which is, Scorpio season. And there's other ways that I look at this season through the wheel of the year that we can talk about and kind of do a mini reading. But how's that sound?
Okay. Wonderful. Can't
Wonderful.
wait.
Cool. Great. Well, to start out, I'd love to hear just from your words, what you do for work and play. We heard a little about your play already, but yeah, kind of what are you doing out there in the world these days?
Yeah, today I teach, I write, I speak. Um, it more and more I'm understanding why I'm here on this planet, which is to help people to feel better. And that really just like ranges across a whole number of things. But um, gosh, I'd say mostly in the workplace is what I do because, you talked about how you and I both met when we were working in tech, and you and I both worked a lot. Do you
Yeah.
remember this era? Yes.
Yeah, we did.
And
Worked hard,
there's
played hard, but yeah. Yeah.
totally, yes. And I experienced an extreme burnout during my time in Silicon Valley. I, did all the things everybody said to do to be successful. I went to Harvard undergrad. I went to Harvard for business school. I worked at all the big brands. I did all the things. Um, and it felt like whatever I did was never enough. I would often be the only in the office. So that might be the only woman in the room. Tech often can be very male dominated. I would be the only Black person, the only Black woman. And I just felt like people continued to say things that questioned my competence, and questioned whether like I actually deserved to be in the roles that I was in because I kept climbing in the ranks, right? But people would say things like, "Hey, are you the new diversity hire?" Or just like just questioning me all the time. It was exhausting. um and so what I did is I just worked harder. I was like, okay, great, well, I guess I got to prove to these people, so I'm going to work nights, I'm going to work weekends, I'm going to go above and beyond at all times, being the like uber type A overachiever that society brainwashed me into being. And that started to affect my health. So I just like wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, my anxiety was terrible, my stress levels were terrible, I was getting sick all the time. It was awful. And at a certain point, my doctor told me something had to change with my stress levels. And so that is when I took it seriously and I quit my job. I went to India. I studied yoga. I studied meditation. I became a sound healer with Tibetan singing bowls. My Harvard Business School classmates were like, "What happened to her?" Um,
Is
and
it
yet,
levitating on, yeah, on Zoom? They're like,
literally, I'm like levitating on Zoom. And and I had never felt better in my entire life.
hmm.
Um, and so when I got back to the States after I spent 2 years traveling, learning holistic healing tools so that I could feel better myself. And when I got back, I was like, wow, this has literally changed my life. I got another job in corporate, and I realized that the things that I learned in India were much more powerful in the context of everyday life than just in a yoga studio. So, somebody would say something that was offensive to me, and I could do my breathing practices to calm my nervous system. The team is super stressed out. It was, the pandemic, for example, right? The pandemic was hard for a lot of us. And imagine if you're leading a team, and a lot of us were people managers. And stress and calm are contagious. So today I teach people in the workplace how to reduce their stress levels. For Black people, people of color, women, marginalized communities, how do you deal with the microaggressions? How do you deal with the glass ceiling? For all folks, we experience stress. So, one of my programs is really just like stress management 101, rejuvenation from fatigue. What do you do when you're tired? And then I wrote my book, Black People Breathe, because a lot of stuff that was happening around race relations in this country, think about 2020, George Floyd, and a lot of terrible things happened to me with the police, unrelated to just being Black in America. And so in my book, Black People Breathe, I share stories and experiences of microaggressions and racism that happened to me. And I share breathing practices and mindfulness practices that helped me to get through them, and I think can help other people.
Amazing. I love your book. I've read it a couple of times. I've read it once and listened to it once,
Oh,
an audiobook, and I definitely recommend listening to the book. But the physical book is great too. It has amazing illustrations to kind of like help with the breathwork practices. And yeah,
mm,
congratulations on that. Just I know that I've said
thanks.
that already, but it's a big accomplishment and such an amazing thing to have out in the world. So yeah, and all of the work that you're doing, I see you on TikTok all the time, just like in the moment, like telling people how it is and just really encouraging people to return to their center and that they have that power within them. And if
Yes, I mean, I especially in this past week, post-election, um, I something happened. You don't know this, we haven't talked, but in the last couple of days, I was traveling for work. I was at a Hilton, um, and it was really early, at an early meeting. I was giving a keynote, and so I had to wake up early, and I needed, I just wanted like a tea. So I went
Mhm.
downstairs to the restaurant and I ordered a tea, and I was waiting for my tea. And then this woman, a white woman, came up to me and asked me to serve her.
Wow,
And yeah, and
what'd
it
you
was
do?
so early in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was shocked, I'm just like, and and, and like, here's the thing. A lot of us are tired. We are tired. And, if you're on like Black TikTok anyway, everybody's like, we are done working. We are tired. Like, this is like, if that's what America wants, that's what America gets. We're taking a pause. We're resting for the next 4 years. And
Good.
so that is also my perspective. And so when this white woman asked me to serve her at a place that I did not work, where I also was a guest, I was so tired and mad. But I'm also a kind person, and I'm sure she didn't know, that's why it's called unconscious bias. You don't know your biases. And so I just kindly said, I don't work here, but I'm sure the woman that does will be here to serve you soon.
Wow.
And then I just went back to my phone because I don't have time. And it was so early in the morning. I was like, get out my face in my
Yeah.
head. But
Yeah.
my breathing practices, kindness is very important.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I teach in my book. Yeah.
Yeah, returning to that, right. It's not going to make it any better to lash out, but I just can't believe that. I just can't believe that that just happened to you. And I mean, this right now in this country, we're in such a moment of, the blue bracelet thing. I'm sure you've heard about.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
just as soon as that came out, I was like, wow, virtue signaling 101. It's just like, here I am. Look at me. I'm not a bad guy. I don't have to do anything or prove anything or actually take any actions except for, showing up to with the blue bracelet. And I was like, I can't even believe the world we live in. I'm a little overwhelmed with
I mean, talk about literally performative.
exactly.
And also, who are you giving your money to, and who is that helping? Who is that helping? Who'd you pay money to for that blue bracelet? You get
I
it.
know, I know. A lot of the
Yeah.
TikTok was like, "Well, I'm going to buy it from a black business person for sure." I like saw these little notes. It's like, "Oh, good for you!" Like little violin and slow clap. Yeah,
So over it.
yeah, same, same. I really love hearing that. That's in the ether, just the rest and just stop. I mean, I think that
Yep.
that's necessary. That's, the rest is resilience and the nap. What is it? The nap
Yes.
ministry. And yeah, I love the
In
movements
that
of,
ministry. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, so good.
totally.
Yeah. So good. More spas, more, yeah, daytime dance parties and more just not engaging with
I told you.
that. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing for my birthday. I'm getting
Good.
massaged.
Yeah.
I'm going to dance it out. I'm going to
Yeah.
connect with the divine through music. It'd be great.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was just remembering how after you quit your job in tech, you sent out a spreadsheet to a lot of friends about what you should do for your sabbatical and where you should go. And it was like color coded and had all of the different types of like thematic things that you could do to like still stay productive and like not fall off the map while you were on your sabbatical. And I just love that was, yeah, you were kind of being told by the universe and your body to leave that stress world. And but then still, as you exited, it was within the framework of the business world. And then seeing, yeah, just how much happened during that course of that year or more, where yeah, you got in touch. So just
Oh
had a
my gosh, I forgot about that spreadsheet. Thank you. I'm kind of embarrassed
no, it was a great
because
idea.
that
It
was
was
such a
brilliant,
tight. No, no, and people I've shared that spreadsheet with others that have then gone on sabbatical and had just it's like a plethora of ideas. In fact, maybe that should be another book. But I know, right? Like things that you could do on sabbatical. Um, but I will just what I'm laughing about as I think about it is how type A and like structured that whole approach to rest was. I was like, I'm resting. So how can I like pack my agenda like filled with stuff? And what are all the things that I could pack my time with? And and it's interesting because now just how much I've changed. Um, I rely so much more on my intuition
Mm,
and spirit and like just you know what I mean? Like just this trust that like the right thing is going to appear at the right time. So
mm.
it's interesting how we evolve.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, do you have any like standout moments from India or from that time when you were kind of coming off the corporate ladder? That was there anything that, like a gem that was distilled as a kind of epiphany for you there, or was it just a continuous learning process?
I mean, I think it was a continuous learning process, but I guess I'll just say that doing ayahuasca in Peru, I experienced, and this is not uncommon, and now I have words for it, but then I was just like, I killed myself. Is ego death,
Mm,
So this idea of the power of letting go who you thought you were so that who you really are can show up. And
mm,
so I think that I was a product of programming and conditioning. And I was clinging to that identity, like I'm a Harvard MBA, you know what I mean? Like I worked at all these places. Like I am my resume. Like my worth is the same as my professional resume. And all of that had to die, like in terms of my belief system inside of me, so that I could become who I am today. And I'm still becoming. We are all always evolving.
mm, mm. I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that's such an important thing to remember that we are always becoming, but there is maybe a moment of clarity where you're like, oh, all of those things that I was built up on, all of the house of cards that I was standing on top of is like not who I am at my core. So beautiful.
And who I'm choosing to be,
Right.
right? Like it felt like it wasn't a choice. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned societal conditioning and societal pressure early. I'm curious about your childhood and your upbringing and kind of where you feel the pressure came from the most. I mean, was it your parents? Was it your community at large? Was it just like general society or?
Yes, 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 and yes. I mean, I think that we live in a capitalist society where people, the media does portray that, the more that you work, the more value, the more valuable that you are. Like if you just sit to do nothing, it's like, you're a waste. Like, why are you even here? Like
Mhm.
this, yeah, that financial wealth determines your worth, your self-worth. But there's just like if you think about artists, right? And you're an artist and I'm a musician, right? And we both have this like beautiful creative side to us. And think about the impact that creativity and artists have had on cultures across the generations, right? And
Yeah.
yet those are the folks that often don't get paid any money. And they might be working a ton, or maybe they don't even need to work a ton because then that moment of inspiration, the thing just comes out. Like the point is that I think, you mentioned a bunch of things, all of it, but I think it starts with capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other things, like, oh, was it your parents? Well, yeah, my parents grew up in a world of capitalism. Both my parents are immigrants. So they came to this country like with the, in quotes, American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I went to Harvard, because my parents were like, I want to give my daughter the best chances that she can possibly have to survive in this like capitalist dog eat dog society. And that's why I did the things, because of fear, actually. My root chakra is something that I continuously work on. The scarcity mindset is something that, thank God for therapy,
Mm-hmm.
because I have sat down with my scarcity mindset, like embodied as a, like a being, and had conversations and been like, "How are you feeling right now? What do you need? What are you worried about?" Because it's hard. It's hard. Life is hard, especially for those of us that didn't grow up with wealth. Um, and so I pursued all these paths because society, capitalism, my parents, everybody, my classmates, right? Like that's what success is, or was, at least was in my head.
Right.
Um, and and now I just have a different perspective. I mean, of course, we all need our basic needs. Yeah.
Right. But it's no longer this carrot or golden carrot being dangled as like, just get there and then everything will be fine. Right. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's never enough, because there's always another carrot.
Yeah.
And so, I almost died. I think, did I tell you this about my near death experience with the rafting?
You did, but yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear it again.
I mean, basically, I almost died last year. I was whitewater rafting on the Rio Grande in Taos, and the water levels were super high, like significantly higher than normal. And as soon as we got in, I got tossed into the water. I learned a new word. It's called sinkhole, and I got sucked down a sinkhole. And the next thing you know, I was my body was gone. All I saw was white. I was fully conscious. And I was like, oh my God, is it over? Did it happen? And I just thought I died. But then my consciousness was there, and I was so confused, and I just was there for a while. And then time went by, and then eventually I remember thinking, but I'm not done yet. And I screamed it inside my being, as with all of my might. And then I opened my eyes and saw the sky, and I was in the water. And then the people were trying to throw the rope to me. And I say all this to say that I had some huge realizations from like going somewhere and then coming back to this life. And one of them is, how can you be happy now?
Mm.
Right? Like, I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. But like, how can you be happy now? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I have chills, shivers. That's really scary. I'm so happy you're okay. That's like really terrifying. And to just have that determination
Like, I
in,
could have not be here.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I've have a near death experience as well, which with the house fire in San Francisco, and
Yes.
yeah, know what it feels like. I didn't fully go away. I didn't see the white light, but it was very close to that because of smoke inhalation and
Yeah.
hanging out of a window.
Yeah.
Very dramatic adrenaline
Whew.
feel. But just what your body can do, the adrenaline, the determination
Yeah.
that comes through when you are in that place of like, this could be it. This could
Yes.
be the end, and then just like no, and like yeah, it's like something's coming from inside of you, just leaping out, and wow, that's so amazing. Wow. And here we are in Scorpio season on your birthday talking about rebirth
Yes.
and death and rebirth, which is what Scorpio is known for. That's what this sign in the zodiac is all about, is this kind of, it goes from the Scorpio, who's kind of a fear-based creature living underground, kind of stingers out, and then it evolves to the or the eagle, which is a beautiful bird of prey who knows what it wants and knows how to go down and get it. And then it's the phoenix, which is the burning into the ashes and rising up from the ashes. And those are the three totems of Scorpio season. And so death and rebirth, as far as like this evolutionary journey in Scorpio, is very present. And I've been talking about it a lot over the past month. And so here we are reaching the end, and you have this literal story of rebirth. So yeah. So I mean, that's a good segue. I'm curious about your relationship with Scorpio, as being a Scorpio, or when you maybe when you found out you were a Scorpio, at what point in your life, and just what if that's held any meaning for you in your life.
So I am not one of the people that is like so into astrology. Like even what you just told me about the three totems, I didn't even know that. I mean, I think in my head I kind of knew that I had an association with the phoenix, but that was just because of all the times that I've had in my life that felt that way. And the
Uh-huh.
eagle, I had no idea about. Um, so I'll say that just first learning I was a Scorpio, I don't know, probably in high school reading those like Cosmopolitan and 17 magazines.
Right.
And just like reading those, which are so general, you know.
Yeah.
Um, in learning more about Scorpios, when people like the things that Scorpios are known for, the thing that resonates most for me, a couple things. One is that like a few things. So now that I think about it, yeah, there are some things I'm like, yeah, I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah.
Um, Loyalty, like there are people, like my people are my people, and I will do all the things. I mean, you know me, like I'm just there for the people. Um, and my inner circle is my inner circle. I mean, I love all beings, but my like homies, it's like ride or die. Um, I also this idea that Scorpios just go deep immediately. It's like, no, there's no small talk. I'm just going to tell you about my near death experience like immediately. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna like tell me about that. Tell me about your greatest fears. Like, you know what I mean? So I really and I find myself connecting immediately with people that can go deep with me. Um, yeah, I think those are some things. I mean, I think the sexual energy thing as well. Like, you know, they say what they say about Scorpios. Like, it's pretty true.
Yeah, I mean, well, you mentioned your root chakra already, and that's like scorpionic energy is kind of, yeah, it's the reproductive organs, but it's also kind of like your sacral area, just that lower area of your body where you're kind of like rooted to the ground. And so it's kind of an interesting, yeah, just an interesting relationship with that rootedness and that depth. And yeah, what was the first thing you said about relating to Scorpio? Oh yeah.
Loyalty.
Ride or die. Yeah, I absolutely see that in you 100%. And what's interesting is that your Scorpio sun is in your 11th house. And in astrology, that's the house of friendship, associations, groups, like socializing. It's this yeah, it's just this area where you have a lot of energy. When I look at your birth chart, you have not only your sun there in Scorpio, but you also have your midheaven, which is like your career and kind of how you're seen in the world and your kind of purpose in the outer world. You also have Mercury there, which is like your communication, like how you communicate. And you have Uranus, which is kind of like how you are electric, or like Uranus is the planet of kind of eccentricity and yeah, electrical impulses and just kind of like insights and epiphanies. And so you have that conjunct, Uranus conjunct your sun, which just makes you this very like insightful kind of just like, yeah, you radiate a certain amount of just personal power and insightfulness. And then having, yeah, your communication planet there, as well as your midheaven, and then also Black Moon Lilith, which is this point in an astrological chart that is related to the lunar cycle, and it is about kind of like feminine rage and feminine empowerment. So you have like
Feminine rage.
rage, yeah. I mean, kind of like the subterranean things that like have been
Okay.
pushed to the side with like femininity and the female. Black Moon Lilith is this point where Yeah, it's kind of an interesting, it's like this dark feminine place. But anyway, you have a lot there, and it's all the 11th house in Scorpio. So it's this like loyalty, ability to go deep, and about like the communal kind of larger, friends and
That tracks.
tracks. Yeah, that's right. So, not as general as a Cosmo horoscope, but I'm sure
Oh
there's
my God.
nuggets in there too. Yeah, I mean it's interesting that you mentioned yeah, those really generic kind of sun sign horoscopes, because that's how I found out I was a Virgo too, and I was like, well, I'm not nitpicky all the time. I'm not like, this all the time. And it was kind of like whatever, brushed it off. And then, later on in my life, astrology came back in a bigger way with a lot more complexity to it. But, with all of
Mm,
the planets and aspects and transits and everything. But what I've actually done with this project of cycles of time is gone back to the sun sign being super important. But like what it does is, rather than just looking at it as like, Scorpio is a whole month of the year. And so there's a lot of variation that can happen
mhm,
month. There's some things you can pick up and be like, yeah, sure, depth, loyalty, sure, but then when you get into a little bit more specific about that, through which I do through the I Ching and human design, I've just found that like this specific like sub season of Scorpio that different people are born in is actually like more related to who they are. So I am very curious about
yeah, it
like
makes sense.
telling you about this. Yeah, because you're like the last week of Scorpio. You're like Scorpio right before we go into Sagittarius, which is,
Mhm.
the Centaur Archer. So it's like a very different kind of energy, perhaps, than a Scorpion. But that's super cool to hear you say that you've been skeptical, but also had certain relationships with, yeah, those overarching themes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's the more you learn, right? Like, and also what you just said, it's like the even parse portions of the month. It just gets more specific. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some energies that are flowing through at various times a year, and I like to relate them to like the ecology of like what's happening underground and with the plants. And I've gone off the deep end with like this ecological parallel with the astrological wheel, because I think a lot of people back in the day when these systems were being formulated were just connected to both the earth and the plants and the stars.
Yeah,
5,000 years ago,
totally.
wherever they lived, there wasn't electricity, there wasn't cities in the way that we have them now. So it's been this kind of like go far back in time kind of thing. So
Mm,
yeah.
hmm.
But I'd love to talk to you about your human design gate. The transits of these gates, the transit of like the sun through Scorpio, the sign is a whole month, and the transits through each one of the gates is like 5.5 days. So it started today and it'll go through your birthday. And I think it ends on Wednesday of this week. So it's like your birthday is right
Okay.
in the middle of this gate. Do you know anything about your human
Mm,
design? Just off before I launch.
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay, cool. So I actually want to show you something really quickly, just so you have a visual.
Okay.
It'd be helpful for you to just see. So
Yes.
this here is a diagram that I made for cycles of time. And basically it comes from the inner wheel is the medicine wheel, the indigenous medicine wheel that has several variations, but this is the one that I've worked with. And then this wheel here with metal, water, wood, fire, and earth is the Taoist five element cycle that's used a lot in Chinese medicine,
Hmm.
Qigong. And out from there is the pagan wheel of the year, which is all of the different pagan holidays that are related to the solstices and equinoxes. And then out from there is the zodiac wheel. And then these numbers on the outside are the I Ching 64, the 64 gates of the I Ching, which is used, kind of been brought to the public in the West through the system of human design. So this little green section here,
Hmm.
and for anybody that's listening, you can see this diagram on my Instagram at Cycles of Time Podcast, or at Astrosomatics, or at astrosomatics.substack.com, where I publish these podcasts as well. But so you can take a look at this wheel and see where the little green section is. But this green section is the week ahead. from Monday through Sunday. So we're in gate 14, the end of Scorpio season. We're entering Sagittarius season this week. We're in the direction north in the medicine wheel and kind of ending the season of metal in the whooshing cycle. So it's a lot of information, but I liked how it could be presented in just this simple wheel from a multicultural perspective. So I hope that helps a little bit to
Yeah,
understand that, it's not
totally.
like a bunch of different points and placements like an astrology chart. It's actually quite simple. It's just one kind of deep dive into different traditions and how they see this time of year. Where we are, and your birthday is in gate 14. And that is known as the gate of power skills. In human design. And in the I Ching, ancient, 5,000-year-old divination book of changes, it's known as possession in great measure. And so it's a abundance gate, and it has this energy of self-empowerment and abundance and bountifulness. And you were the gate of power skills within Scorpio season. I was like, hell yeah, I knew it. I just knew it. Like, out of all the people I know in the whole world, like, who is the power skill person? It's Zee. It's like it's. I was like, aha, it's you. It just hit home because you're just a powerful and very skilled person. So, but I'm curious, just before I go on, like, how does that resonate with you?
So that, just so that I understand, it means that the people born in this period have power skills.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, okay. Well, I'm not surprised by that, I guess. I think the power part, I think that I just naturally approach life as in trying to like do all the things, and like a lot of people are surprised about how much that I do. And I think that comes from an inner power. I mean, I think and that inner power comes from the divine because I'm not going to take any credit for it. But it is true. Like I'll like go through and get all this stuff done and do all of these things. And people are like, you did what? Like
Totally.
I just went rock climbing today. Like people are like, you did what?
I know. You're like, I could squeeze in this interview at the end of my rock climbing before I do like X, Y, and Z other things. Erica Badu tonight. Cool.
That
Thank you so
there
much.
you go. Literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And then skills. Yeah. How do you relate to skills?
I think I'm always developing skills, but I perhaps this is the inner self critic in me. I always feel like there's more skills that there's more to develop and harness with skills. But I'm very appreciative of the skills that I have developed, and particularly the ones that come naturally to me.
Mm.
Yeah, been
Mm.
enjoying that lately.
Oh, I love that you say that. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously earlier in the interview you were talking about rising to the top, despite the fact that there were these microaggressions coming at you and despite the fact that you were having to fight against the tide essentially and the culture,
Yes.
capitalism, but you still were, I mean, I know for a fact that yeah, you were climbing you were doing it. You had the skills. So, yeah, I just, and also seeing just the way that you've taken breath work and meditation and really just yeah put it out there into the world as a service for people. That's a beautiful skill that you carry. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
don't know, for me it really felt like striking because for example last week my daughter, who Tala, her birthday was a week ago,
Hmm.
and so she's not a power
Hmm.
skill, she's a rebel. She's in this
Yeah.
insight, which is kind of all about being yeah, listening to letting your freak flag fly and like listening to your inner voice and like kind of tuning out what's around you and like being a rebel. And it's just different kind of energy. It's interesting, like the story that is told through following all of the different gates of Scorpio season, because there is a little bit of
Mm.
narrative there and they all have a similar kind of themes, but they're different, right?
Hmm.
I do see, Morgan was in the gate of values a couple weeks ago, which is she was
Makes so much sense.
values. I'm all about the values in hustle and play, so it's been kind of fascinating, just like
Yes.
you know, dear people in my life in a row and seeing like just the slight differences. I'm like, okay, maybe it's confirmation bias.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There's also like, in addition to human design, which is an interpretation of the I Ching, another interpretation of the I Ching is called the gene keys. Have you heard of this framework before?
No, no.
So it's a guy named Richard Rudd who's out of England, and he basically has taken all of these 64 energies and just kind of made a different book about them essentially. But it's kind of fascinating to hear what he has to say. And for your gate 14 in the gene keys, there's like three different levels of evolution within the gene keys. So each gate has three different levels. And one is the shadow, which is kind of the survival or fear-based level. And then one is the gift, which is like a service-based level, how you're of service to yourself and the world. And then there's the city level, which is kind of where you kind of surrender to the essence of that energy. So it's a really interesting book. It's very poetic and very just like goes into this philosophy. But for 14, you mentioned a couple of these words earlier in our chat, which I thought was interesting because um, gate 14 has the shadow of compromise, the gift of, let me make sure I'm right on this one because I just screenshotted it and I don't want to be wrong. Yeah, so it has the shadow. Gate 14 has the shadow of compromise, the gift of competence, and the city of bounteousness. And I just got an email about Gene Key 14 because it just started today, like I said. And it says it's one of the great keys to creating abundance and prosperity. And in order to prosper, we must first breathe deeply into the belly, for true prosperity is about embodiment. And I was like, wow.
And since I teach breath work, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I was like, and you're talking a lot about wealth and abundance, and so as I listened to this, I listened to an audiobook of the Gene Keys, and I was listening to the 14 chapter, and it was talking about compromise being like kind of what you're saying about social conditioning and social pressure, and being like you're
Hmm.
making this inner compromise of what you really want to be and who you really know yourself to be, so that you can please the people, please the system of
Hmm.
capitalism, your parents, whoever it is. And so that's like
Yeah.
when you're in that fear-based frequency, there's this kind of compromise that you're forced to partake in. And then you go to
Hmm.
the gift, and it's about competence. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about people questioning your competence, and within that, and that's
Yes, that's true.
into like recognizing your own internal
Well,
gifts.
I think I spent a lot of my time in, as I mentioned, the scarcity mindset and a fear-based sort of approach. Like that's what drove my that was my work ethic was based on fear of
Mhm.
poverty. Given kind of how I grew up. Um, and I think it has been an evolution and to today where I feel so honored to be able to share my gifts with people, to help them to feel better in their lives. Like I feel so good to know when things that I have shared with people that they're using them every day. Like I just ran into somebody and she was like, I used the breathing practice you taught me to sleep. Thank you so much. And I'm like, that like warms my heart because then I'm like, okay, I am here living my purpose. And so I feel honored to be able to share these gifts. And
Yeah.
then the last one, the bounty, I mean, I think that bounty is an abundance can be interpreted in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like, and I do feel that my life is filled with a lot of love and a lot of like beautiful souls and beautiful people. And I feel blessed to be able to be free.
Mm,
Sometimes like I spend a lot of my life not feeling free.
mhm.
Today feel more free than ever. And yet still there's further freedom that is, that we all, especially around the world, and a lot of people that just physically are suffering right now, um, And so bounty, I would love if any bounty that I have gets spread to others around the world that don't have that bounty, and that bounty in a lot of different ways, not just in material wealth, but also this concept of freedom, like I mean, it really is so upsetting how many people in the world are suffering right now. And I'm not going to like get political. I'll just say, and what certain governments are doing to I don't want to use the word encourage, but if you fund weapons, that's encouraging further treatment. So yeah, didn't think I was going to take it there, but hey, that happened.
Please do. I always do. And yeah, it's been interesting in the past week. The last episode I recorded was before the election. And so it's like, everything.
Oh,
And I have talked, it's hard to know, yeah, like where I'm doing this, silly little astrology thing that to me feels like it's carrying a lot of really important concepts and a lot of weight. But at the same time, it's like when your mind is in that frequency of what's going on the surface and deeper, it's like, yeah, where is this going to end up going? And I am by no means shying away from anything political, as this in the sense of like everything to be alive is to be in the political system. And so, yeah, thank you for taking it there. And I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, these times where we have to recognize our inner abundance and inner bounty, our embodiment, these types of things, that it's really not about wealth as far as prosperity being equated to just accumulation of wealth. So yeah, I appreciate
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
I did make a note based on what you were just saying. One of the notes that I made about this human design gate 14 is that it says those with this gate enjoy working, especially using one's gifts to be of service to others. And it is super important to love what you do in order to evolve past that fear-based thing. And I see you finding this work that you do for your own self and you love in your body and for yourself, but you're able to bring it to so many other people in the workforce and beyond, and just help them so much. It's beautiful to see you come into this place.
Thank you. I do. I went to this like event, kind of social event that asks interesting, like deeper questions to encourage conversation. So it's like a way people be able to talk, meet each other, etc. And the way it worked is there were these different questions, and it would be like yes, no, or maybe, and then you'd have to walk to the area of the room that was for yes, no, and maybe.
Oh, cool.
And one of the questions was, are you living your purpose or taking steps towards living your purpose? And
Mm,
today I could, confidently be in a yes category. But I'd say, like 15 years ago, that definitely was not the case. The answer was like a clear no.
right.
So I feel very grateful for that.
I mean, God, to be living your purpose and know that your purpose is to be of service to your friends, your community, the larger world, and that these don't have to be at odds from each other.
Yeah.
To spread it
Yeah.
contagiousness. Yeah, one other thing that you mentioned earlier was about kind of contagion and stress being contagious. And what else did you say was contagious?
Oh,
Calm.
stress and calm are contagious, but calmness, like,
Right,
but you get to choose. And that's
right,
the thing that people don't realize.
right, right. So in human design, basically one last thing I will say about this, just because I think it's interesting, is that so your sun is in gate 14, and that kind of along with your sun that is in your kind of unconscious, that was like at the end of your second trimester, they do an astrology chart for like the end of like when you were fully formed as a being inside the womb. So
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Mm-hmm.
cross between your conscious
Mm-hmm.
birth sun and then your like prenatal sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cross that
Mm-hmm.
forms is called the cross of contagion, which is fascinating. And it's
Uh-huh.
all your purpose. And it says that it means that your purpose is centered around your remarkable ability to attract and manage resources, as well as your propensity for making commitments and, yeah, just like expressing what you love in this contagious way. So I was like, you just said a few words
Ooh,
early on where I was like, bing, bing. Like, it kind of was like, all right. I just love
yeah.
the idea that calm is contagious and stress is contagious. Like, I just love that because I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's always interesting when these things align. Like I didn't know anything about what you were going to tell me today.
I know. It's this blind reading of like, okay, yeah. And I've also come from the skeptics mindset where I'm like not, I've never been super I'm not a super woo person. Like I definitely can be perceived that way now because it's like all I do. But I think it took me a long time to get there as far as like being accepting.
Hmm.
Like I had to come up with all the reasons why it was okay and the defensiveness and everything. And
Hmm.
so I'm skeptical and I'm of like being too like, oh my God, this is it. And it's all just magical. But when it hits,
Hmm.
it hits.
Hmm.
It's kind of just like fun to see people, the way people shine, the way like, if it's your sun
Hmm.
just your sun right here. There's lots of other planets and lots of other forces that make you who you are beyond astrology. And, it's from your upbringing, from your, yeah, connection to source, whatever, however you want to frame it. But the sun is just this, it's kind of about like, yeah, what are you radiating outward? Like the way the sun is always
Hmm.
shining. And so
Yeah.
yeah, you're a radiant being. And I'm so grateful that you're here today
Oh,
to be.
well, I have really enjoyed thank you for sharing all of the things that are happening in my world right now that um, I guess I have one last question for you,
Yeah.
which is, as you share these readings, what do you what do you think people should take from them? You know what I mean? Like it's like just like making the connections, or is it guidance? You see the difference? You know what I
Too.
mean? Like somebody telling you about you versus like perhaps direction or suggestions on how you should be, or you know what I mean? Like fortune cookie.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I like about it is that we're talking about your birthday and we're talking about you, and you're this person who there are certain ways that you reflect power skills and contagious calm and, like getting out of the fear mindset and the loyalty of Scorpio, like all of these things that we talked about. And so that is you, but it's definitely deeper than you because the whole wheel is all of us. Like in an astrology chart or a
Hmm.
design chart, we live within the wheel. Like we are, watching these planets and the sun go around. Like there's a revolution of the earth around the sun every 365 days. And we're all part of that ride. Like we're not just in some little chunk of it, like siloed on our own little journey. And so everybody has every sign of the zodiac in them. Everybody has every gate of human design and the I Ching in them. It's just some people might have it more activated if they have, their sun being born there and being have more of a resonance with that season. But the way I see it is that, for everyone out there listening, the sun is currently in gate 14. And so you are being the light of the sun through gate 14 is being shown upon you. And this last week of Scorpio season, there's a certain energy that all of us are receiving about our own empowerment, our own skillfulness, our own ability to be deep and know what that depth means for us. And so it's just an ability to reflect on these qualities that live within each one of us through a perspective of somebody who's really radiating that energy. So that's,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Do you have any final words that you'd like to offer to people listening out there?
I'm being called to call everybody to be a bit more intentional about intuition these days and like trusting your gut. Um, there are a lot of external pressures. People all want us to do whatever it is they want or they think that we should do. And especially during times of uncertainty, which we are in, right? Big political changes in this world. Nobody knows what's going to happen, or rather, I keep reading articles and trying to turn off the news of speculation of what could happen. But
Yeah.
trust your instincts and your intuitions around what you need and what's going to keep you safe and whole. Because we cannot predict the external, but we can focus on ourselves, and we know how to heal ourselves. Like if you got really quiet, and we know what we need at all times. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That is a beautiful call
Yeah.
to action and call to inward reflection. And yeah, I mean, the past few gates of Scorpio season have all like really lent themselves to this. It was the gate of creativity or the creator values, like the rebel and power skills. And I'm like, all of those words together, just hearing them spoken into the world and reflecting on how those show up in my life and people's lives around me. It's like, yeah, that power of intuition and creativity, like you mentioned earlier, to know who we are and not rely on external forces is a beautiful point. So yeah, thank you for reflecting that back.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. Have an amazing time at the Erykah Badu concert and all of
Thank
the rest
you.
of your birthday weekend. And yeah, you can find Z. I'd love to yeah, tell everybody how that they can find you on the internet or beyond.
You can find me on social media. I'm at Zee Clarke Breeds on Instagram and TikTok. So that's at ZeeClarke Breeds, Breathes, or zeeclarke.com, zeeclarke.com. Yeah, would love to connect.
Definitely. And be sure to check out her book, Black People Breathes. It's available anywhere you buy books on Kindle or audiobook as well. So definitely check that out. It's for everyone, I would say, worth a read, not just for, I mean, right. I think it's relevant to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Your stories and learning
Totally.
in there. So yeah, check it out. And such a pleasure to talk to you. See you again soon.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to this conversation and this little mini forecast for the week ahead. As always, you can find me on Instagram at Cycles of Time Podcast or astro.somatics. And you can subscribe to get this in your inbox every Monday at astrosomatics.substack.com or join the Substack community. There's a lot of good conversations happening there. But thanks so much to Z for joining me today. And I hope you all are inspired by some of her call to actions about trusting your gut, listening to your intuition, and knowing that, power and abundance and bountifulness can come through being connected to your body in that way and your inner knowing. So with that, I welcome you to a beautiful Sagittarius season ahead, a beautiful end to Scorpio season, and I'll see you next Monday for another great interview. So stay tuned for that. All right. See you all soon. Bye.